We have a WPC-S CPU that goes into a World Cup soccer, and the client sent this to me with the commentary that he'd installed NVRAM, and my comment is he did a nice job of that. But then sometime after that, all hell broke loose, or what's he say? All heck broke loose, and indicating that the direct switches were run wild. And I did finally figure out what was going on with it, and U15, a 74 LS240, had failed. And interesting that it passes in my Chinese chip tester device, one like this, but I replaced it with one of my NOS chips, and now this thing is working correctly. I've replaced the cap at C31 and the header at J210 and installed a 4.27 DC voltage watchdog there. And I've got my bench WPC-S test ROM obtainable from Planetary Pinball at no charge, or the image is no charge. And I have a test fixture security chip in there. And those of you that are contemplating board repair, you need a whole set of these security chips, or you know how to use any pick on your ROMs, because these boards are inoperative totally without having a valid security chip in there. Now, I bought these from a fella in Canada, but as far as I know, and it's kind of irritating, is that security chip software is not out into the wild. Maddening as hell, because I have a programmer and I have the chips to make them. I just don't have the software. The driver board is here, and all the correct LEDs are lit. The client had installed an easy SBC 5-volt regulator, and it is set to 5.07 volts, at least on my test rig it is. And I added this is actually a PCB spacer, but I use those because they're the right size to, number one, get a 1/4-inch socket drive on there, and two, it doesn't overlap into the adjacent traces on these easy SBC regulators. I have replaced the GI in and out headers, the unregulated 12 header, and the other power in headers on the right side of the board. We are in test, and lamp matrix test is operating away. We're going to test all features. Now, when I'd press the diagnostic button in the past, I'd get into test here, and then it'd immediately exit out. So there are some phantom switches that were being registered. Now, since I replaced that LS240, it looks like we're good to go. Going across the diagonal of the switch matrix, and here are the direct switches, which were not operating correctly before. Sorry, let me go through that in reverse order. So the switch matrix is back to being operational. Solenoid test. And this is the first and second bank selects for the solenoid drives. There's a AUX drive test for WPC-S, which is interesting. I'm not sure where that is. It's probably this connector up here. I don't know of any WPC-S game that uses that, though. Let's test the GI, and there are 5 strings on WPC-S. Excellent. Lamps and flashers. All flash lamps, all lamps operative. The client did send along a new cap for C5, so I installed that. I installed a C4 for him. He had installed C2, and he had installed a modern, I guess, switching 12-volt regulator. I personally don't like these because the old 7812 regulators, I have never, ever seen one fail. But these things, being what they are today, and even these EZ SBCs, they do fail. The old LM323Ks, I never replaced a single one of those because it had failed. In fact, I'm sitting on a stock of about 25 of those things that I don't know what to do with right now. At any rate, this power driver board and MPU board are good to go, and I thank you so much for sending them.